Nice. There we go.
We good? Yeah.
Awesome,
Cool.
dude. How are things going? What's going on?
Oh man, things are good. We just signed our biggest client ever, and
Wow.
then three more all at the same time this week. So it's like it's getting a little intense, and
Sweet.
we're hiring an analyst again ASAP, and I might be looking for some ops help actually too.
Yeah, let me know what's going on.
Sure.
Yeah, I wanted to do this. I wanted to do just like a little jam session here and just talk through a few things. How much time do you have? You got like 20 minutes?
Oh, dude, totally. Of course.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
good till 11:30.
Okay, cool. Let's go through I'm just recording this, so I want to go through a few cool things that have
Oh,
come up.
are you gonna
So
broadcast the part about
it's
the clients and everything? Is that
oh,
okay?
no, I don't have to do that. I
Okay.
can
Okay. Yeah.
I can edit that out.
If you don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, for sure. I'll edit that out. I don't want to tell everybody how successful you are. That's fine. I understand. So, no, I'll edit it out for sure.
Okay.
So, um, yes, great. So I'd love to. So today I want to get talking about ops and finance stuff. Love to talk
Sure.
about what you're seeing. You are out there networking, mixing it
Mhm,
up. You're on LinkedIn.
mhm,
Talk to me about what you're seeing with the fractional role. Like, how is that expanding? You're a fractional CFO. Talk to
mhm.
me about that.
Yeah, well, when I started probably full time for myself, this was 2020, late 2020. A lot of people didn't know what a fractional CFO was or what they did. That is very different now. I would say most people I speak with have a pretty good idea of what to expect from fractional executives, especially CFOs. So I feel like it's sort of our kind of profession is becoming a little more accepted and a little more known, and that also comes with like it's good, more competition, which is great, but
Yep.
also the ability to chat with other folks that do what we do. And so, I mean, there's no association for us yet, but maybe there will be in time, like a fractional
Yeah.
executive kind of association.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Talk to me about the history of 8X. Like
Mhm.
what's with the name? How did you get to the name? And then like talk about how did it come about?
Yeah, for sure. So the name, I'm sometimes I'm not a fan of the name, but really it's an homage to entrepreneurship. There's a Japanese proverb that says, fall seven times, stand up eight. And so that's where the name 8X comes from. It's like that eighth time. And that's what entrepreneur life is all about. You just keep standing up, and then eventually it works. Well, for a lot of people anyway. Um, what's the history? Yeah, so I have been in finance for a long time, and I always wanted to be a CFO. Well, since I was like 25, I was like, you know what, I'm going to be a CFO. So anyway, made that happen. Around I was probably around 32. I got appointed to CFO at a former role, and I loved it. What I didn't love though was the commute and the hours and the all that. Like my favorite job I've ever had, but I missed dinners at home with my family for about 2 years during the week. And then COVID happened, and we all worked from home, and I got 3 hours a day back and didn't miss dinners. And I was like, I don't want to go back to what I was doing before. So I had already started working part time with a few people, loved it, and then realized I think this is what I want to do. So started just talking about it on LinkedIn, networking, and you know, by late 2020, I had almost replaced my income, but I stayed at my job. And then March 2021, I fully quit, and then had fully replaced my income like a month after that, just because the need was expanding, basically. So that's kind of where this all started. Um, but when I was CFO, like what we did, I was a private equity group, so we were doing. Obviously, I had to handle everything for the company, so we did audit, tax, reporting, investor reporting. We had 60 investors, 75 million assets under management. So hard work, but just loved it. And then I also got to work deal side. So because we're a small team, I got to do diligence and documentation and portfolio management and all these things, and I loved all that. And it's just made me a better CFO now as well.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Mhm.
Walk us through the journey of just in 2020, like how are you defining out your service offering in a kind of an unknown, world?
Yeah,
fractional
well, I mean, I
CFO?
started like everyone did, and you just kind of throw something against the wall and throw a price on it and get going. And so it was mid 2019, I took my first two clients, and I stayed with two for about a year because I wanted to just make the mistakes, and they were friends. So I wanted to make the mistakes. I wanted to figure out what I could trip over. Um, Wanted to figure out what I wanted to do, which parts I wanted to do. And so that was about a year of having only two clients ish. Then 2020, I started taking on more clients. But by then, because I had started very slow and on the side, I had a good idea of what I liked doing and what I didn't. I had a decent idea of what people would ask me and what they wouldn't. And so then I just put a scope together and I went out, found a few more clients. Then I stopped taking more clients for a while again, just to have that time where it's small enough that you could manage it by yourself. So what I learned very early on was that I'm not good with the routine parts of being a CFO, like you have to just check taxes, you have to pull together budget versus actuals, you have to do all that. And so then um, late 2020, early 2021, I hired an analyst. And so that person was in charge of the routine. And then I got to do what I love doing, which is reviewing the reports and showing up on a call with the client and solving hard problems. That's my favorite part of this job. Um, and so now I have a much bigger team than I did in 2021. We're four of us. And so most of the routine is handled by my staff, and I get to show up and be smart. But it evolved over time, and it's still evolving.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. And you kind of, I love your website. You know, a lot of people are starting off in fractional work. They
Mm-hmm.
may not know how to launch and put together a website. Can you speak
Mm-hmm.
to the thought process on this, the simplicity behind it, and so forth?
Totally. So, my first website was something that I did in like Wix or Weebly, and it was horrible. And then that was my first probably year as I wanted to build something and really go to market with something. I had been tracking a group called StoryBrand for quite a long time. And I just love the way they talk about how to tell your story, how, as a business owner, you are a guide, you're not the hero. And so just loved what they did, loved how they talked about it. And so what I did, sorry, excuse me. What I did was I got in touch with what they call a story brand guide, and that person, for not a lot of money really, they wireframed and scripted my whole site, and then we handed it off to a story brand specific web developer, and they put this together. All the site was from conception, from my idea to launch. The site was done in probably about 2 months, um, and the most of the time was spent on the scripting and the wireframing and the guide being like, well, what is your client's problems, like what do they want you for, what do they say to you, and then him taking that information and putting it into their 7-step framework, and that's kind of what you see in here.
Yeah, I love the simplicity of it. I love the call to action right away. You know, to get on a call, you
Mm-hmm.
really break it down to something really simple in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the 3 pillars of a business. I love the
Yep.
tagline here: "Run your business with more cash and less stress." Who doesn't want
Yep.
that? Obviously.
Yep.
And then consistent cash flow, customer understanding, no customer habits, and long term planning. That's
Mm-hmm.
just all on point. And then you got a few logos there of obviously clients that you're working with, and then
Mm-hmm.
you got this beauty of a picture here. So I like that. Looks nice. Who am I working with? And I also love this little part: schedule call, develop a forecast, gain long term growth. That's
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. And then of course this little calculator here,
Mm-hmm.
that is just fantastic. Self serve.
I For a long time, I've been very irritated with non-transparent pricing in SaaS, in service, in everything. And so what happens is you want to know if you can afford this thing. So you call them and they say, "What's your budget?" I'm like, "I don't know. What does this stuff cost? I have no idea." And then you have to get on a call and do a demo, and then they're going to send the pricing by email 3 days later. And I just was sick of that stuff. So from the very beginning, I had some calculator in mind saying, pick your revenue. I'll tell you what it's going to cost. And I've honored that every single time. And sometimes I do a bit less if someone's in a jam. But I've never quoted more than what this thing has told people. And I,
Yeah.
now one of the things we need to do is, as you figure out, who you are and what you do, you raise your prices. And so I have clients on the old pricing. It's fine for now,
Right.
but have to figure that out at some point.
Yeah, I love it.
Hmm.
And then, of course, increase your profit by 30%. Who doesn't want to learn more about that?
Yeah.
Given the current macroeconomic situations
Hmm.
that we're dealing with. And also, you got this financing services pieces. You want to speak to a little bit about this?
Yeah, good. That's a hangover actually from something I used to do in my first year. It was the first 6 months of COVID. Well, COVID started, and then all these government programs came out, and I was like, "Look, people have no idea how to access these things. Let me help." So I started doing that, helping people with it. Um, and actually, I need to remove that because I don't do strictly financing projects anymore.
Got
What
it.
I've learned about financing projects is the part that I'm good at and the part that I like the most is here's where you are, here's where you want to go. What do you need to do to get there? But that's the hard part. Everything else on financing that comes after that point is administration. It's managing emails back and forth between bankers and people and filling out forms. And I hate that stuff, as you can imagine. I'm not an administrator by nature. So I don't
Yeah.
actually do financing specific projects only anymore. There's a lot of good
Got it.
referral partners, though, that do it. Swoop Canada, SWOOP
Swoop
is a good
Canada.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lever Finance, LEVR Finance is another good one. You can go to both those sites, um, and kind of just connect with them, and they
Hmm.
will help you pull everything. So these guys are great. Yeah, Swoop is great
Hmm.
too. But what they'll help you do, they'll help you pull together the data package that bankers want, and then they will go to market for you and manage the back and forth. So most of the time now, I use one of those two, Swoop or Lever.
So if I'm an entrepreneur watching this right now,
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
at what point would I ask myself I need to, or know that I have to go to a Swoop or a Lever?
You will go long before you think you need to. That's when you
Hmm.
should go. A lot of the problems that happen with financing and not getting what you need when you need it is waiting too long. Um, a lot of people will wait till they need financing to go and get it. Uh, when you need it, it's very difficult to get it because you and I would know that bankers only want to give money to people that don't need it.
Yes.
And so it's just the way of the world somehow. And there are some e-com lenders that are good and they're there for you when you need them, but they're pricey. So if you want the best money you can get, go go 6 months before you feel the need. That's when you should go.
Love it. Love it.
Mhm.
Other thing I admire about you and what you've done with your practice is you're constantly networking. You're out
Mhm.
there. How is that working? Like, is that a natural extension of yourself, or did you realize early on in the COVID days when everyone was just virtual that hey, this is the way we meet people now, and we don't know how long that's going to be for, and you
Yeah.
just kind of start running with it? Yeah, can you speak to a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's part of I love people. I'm an extrovert, and I just love hanging out and meeting people and chatting. Um, with LinkedIn and with networking, one of the things I wanted to do early on was to be a giver. And so I take a shit ton of calls. Hey, can I just have your advice on something? Hey, can we chat about this? I do a lot of those. Too many, some would say. If I had a COO, they would say, don't do that. Um, but
Check.
I meet students, I meet other entrepreneurs, I meet other CFOs. So other CFOs ask, hey, how can I get my business off the ground? And I'll tell them what I did. I don't hide anything. I don't need to. So I love giving. And then I love networking, right? Like being on LinkedIn and offering advice. And I try to, on LinkedIn, I try to be helpful more than anything else. So I tend to get questions from that. So I love that interaction of putting something up that's helpful. People will comment, ask questions. I'll try to clarify. Sometimes I make new posts off the questions, and then some of them turn into meetings. I love that part of it a lot. I love networking, and the e-commerce and LinkedIn community. It's a really wonderful community. I find engaging with the LinkedIn community is just been uplifting. It's been people support each other. Um, for the most part, people are really chill and kind. Like there's no arguing like on Facebook, not really. And so it's just been a really great community to be a part of, and it is partly my personality, but I also know that when I take a break from LinkedIn, the leads slow down, and when I spin back up, the leads spin back up too. And so Um, I have to be on LinkedIn for my business
Yeah,
too.
be active. Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's so real time too, right? Like it'd
Hmm.
be interesting to run the data for any of us that add someone, message someone on LinkedIn. How quickly do they respond? How quickly do they add them? How quickly do you
Yeah.
get them into a Zoom call? It's pretty
Hmm.
fascinating.
Yeah,
I love
it
that.
is quick. It is quick, especially if your interests are aligned. You can get on phone calls from post like to DM to phone call in like a week sometimes.
For businesses that might be watching this, entrepreneurs we're sending this out to,
Hmm.
what decisions do they need to make to get to the point where they say, hey, I need a fractional CFO? What stages are we talking? Startups? Are we talking about mid tier? Are we talking about, hey, I'm like $50 million company?
Hmm.
What and who are kind of making these decisions?
So the one of the big ones is that you lose the ability to keep track in your head of all the moving pieces. So that's a big one. And by way of example, so if you have a marketing agency and you're one or two people, and you know payroll what it is going to be every month, you have a tech stack, same cost every month basically, and so then you know what you need to cover, right? So agencies, I would say, probably don't need a CFO till they're getting close to a million, basically, because it's relatively straightforward. You can do the math in your head most times. Um, Brands and product sellers, you need a solid bookkeeper, and then you got to get to that point where you can't do it in your head anymore. So that's, again, I've worked with people under a million, but a million is that point where there's lots going on. You're usually buying inventory months in advance. You've got to hire someone who's not fully covered yet to manage your inventory and do this or that, the other things. So I would say at a million, it makes sense. The other thing about a million is that often a brand owner is taking home something at a million, and so then they don't mind paying me. Whereas at 500,000, no one wants to pay me 30 grand a year when they're not taking anything home. So there is that, just like that piece of
Yeah,
it.
that makes sense.
But primarily, um, if you're having a hard time keeping it all straight in your head, we as a CFO, and probably you too, actually, for your business, will help you map stuff down in Excel so you can see what cash flow looks like, or at least some scenarios months ahead. And that does give people a sense of like peace, actually, because they can see scenarios and what can work and what can't. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And with kind of all the activities that are taking place right now in the
Hmm.
economy, what's the feeling on the street related to the recession? How are you dealing with that internally? Is that a question that keeps coming up, or is it, just keeps getting pushed because the Fed and Bank of Canada say different things all
Yeah.
the time? So
It doesn't come up enough. I would say right now that most owners are not overly worried about recession, really. Um, and so my job when they're not worried at all is to be chicken little a little bit and say, look, we don't know what's going to happen. Let's shore things up. Let's go get a piece of financing that you don't need. Let's look at reducing your fixed costs. Um, there are some that are very conservative. Actually, you know what? A funny thing that I find is that if I think about it, those in my network that are not at all concerned, um, should be, and those that are concerned have cause to be more aggressive. If I think about it, actually, I have a client who's got great cash reserve, great economics, and they're like, "Hey, we don't know what's going to happen. Let's be careful." And I'm like, "Yes, but with your cash reserve and with your economics, this is a great time for you to come out of this thing in a position of strength." And so my job is to be a bit of a balancing, uh, balance, help people balance how they think about things. Whether if they're more aggressive, I'll be chicken little. If they're very conservative, I'll kind of push for growth a little bit.
are there specific companies, categories of companies that you're going after, like direct to consumer, e-commerce, SaaS, or all
Mhm.
internet plays?
Yeah. So it changes as we add staff, of course. So in the beginning, I was e-commerce only, e-commerce and wholesale, of course. Now I think one of the things for us is access to data. So when you're an e-commerce company, we can get your Shopify, QuickBooks, all these things. So we do e-commerce still is most of our business. We can do, now that we have another partner, we can do manufacturing. So we have very strong, another CFO that's just joined us, named Amanda. So she's very strong in manufacturing, inventory management, process costing, all these things. our VP, Leandro, he worked at a mining company, so we could do mining now as well. Still, just because I'm well known more so in e-commerce, that's kind of what comes our way, but that will change over time. We do SaaS also. Um, we don't do as much of it as we'd like, I guess, but we do it. Yeah.
So being a fractional COO, I have to ask the question, how
Yeah.
are you finding great talent? Is it through your networking? Is it a combination of things? Obviously, you also probably have this magic, that you want to talk about. Obviously, every company has their
Yeah.
magic
Yeah.
sauce, but yeah, like how are you able to draw in this great talent?
So, what I'm doing is very interesting to finance people. So, so that's one of the reasons that, for example, Leandro. So I met him well from networking, and then we chatted here and there, and he wanted to like kind of see what the work was like. So worked with us part time for a little bit, and then ended up loving the business, and so he's now joined us full time. Um, Amanda, again, I've known her for a while, but she just kind of heard what we were doing and wanted to be a part of it, and so has joined. Um, I've used a recruiter before. In the Philippines, we used a recruitment company to find John, our analyst. John is probably the most talented analyst on the team, I think, at this point. Worked for companies like World Bank, AIG, Citigroup, so very talented
Wow.
people. But one of the reasons he wanted to join us instead of other options was A, we pay well, and B, one of our core values is work-life balance. And so I tell my team all the time, like we're gonna have those 60-hour weeks, but we don't do that for not if it's not a good reason. So take your vacations, be flexible. Like so we're very flexible. We're human, like we're not I'm not like driving people, I'm we're chill like I am with you. This is how I'm like with my team. So that's
Yeah.
helpful. And then just like I say, networking on LinkedIn and people can tell from my profile picture from how I talk about things like I'm a pretty chill person, and I think that's attractive to people too.
And again, with my COO hat on, for those fractional executives that are listening to this, what advice do you have for your own business or for their own
Hmm.
businesses when planning for milestones, specifically revenue generating? Like in
Sure.
2020, did you have like a specific number you were hitting,
Hmm.
or did that develop after you had a semblance of what was going on after 12 months
Hmm.
of testing? Now that you're more of a mature business, how are you setting those kind of revenue markers internally, and then how are you dealing with the market? Because you're still, it's your business, right? So you're a single founder. It's not like you're talking with other folks outside of
Hmm.
the staff, but how are you dealing with that mental piece of it as well at the same time?
Oh, so like milestone planning and where we're headed.
Yeah, so revenue setting for the company. If right now there's a fractional
Hmm.
COO or
Hmm.
CFO
Hmm.
or CEO
Hmm.
saying they're just getting started, what advice do you have for them on just setting
Sure.
goals, revenue
Hmm.
goals, and then how are you managing just, hey, you're running your business, you got your family, you got all these things going on. I know you do a great job working with a VA. I gotta point that out. You're just wonderful with that. So maybe that's the
Yeah.
answer. But yeah, love to
Yeah.
dive deeper
So
on that.
yeah, I mean, I might be a little embarrassed to share this, but we don't do formal goal setting. That's one of my things to do this quarter is to get our
Got it.
vision kind of put down and then start because now we really do have what I would say is a true team, and that only just happened this summer. Before this, it was me and an analyst, and now we have me and VP and an analyst and another partner and whatever else. So now it is on me to figure out goal setting and how we're going to do it. Before this, though, I just said, well, in the first year, it was, I have this much money left in my bank account. When I get to this, I need to bail out and go find a job again. That didn't happen.
Got it.
And so then it was, what do I think my family needs to be comfortable? And let's go figure that out. And then I said, okay, work backwards. So how much do clients want to pay? And how many clients do I have? Can I manage that workload? And then we decided it was yes. Now it's less about revenue, more about the actions that lead to creating it. So being active on LinkedIn, being active on the podcast circuit, just starting that. It's diversifying also where the channels come from because it's been all LinkedIn basically in referrals. So now we're looking at doing other things like including some travel in the new year, including being on more podcasts, things like that.
Yeah.
but I'm less focused on the number as I am on like the actions that lead to it right now.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I assume you're through that networking and LinkedIn, either, there's trust that gets built and you're able to feel out whether or not the client is, for you, are you for the
Hmm.
client? I mean, those are really
Hmm.
important pieces to ensure that both parties are, they're happy, when they start
Hmm.
working together. So the power of LinkedIn again, for the win with that
It's
one, right?
huge. It's so huge, right? Because, what happens is if you can be regular on LinkedIn and offer value, people will follow you for months or whatever, but then they'll begin to see, oh, this guy knows what he's doing, or this person knows what he's doing. And I've had people reach out to me, say, hey, I've been watching you for months. Can we work together finally? And they know what I'm about. They know how I speak. And they know what I'm like. And so it's a shorter sales cycle when you can be public about what you're up to and what you do and how you think. And for that reason, it makes, finding leads that finding people that I vibe with has not been a problem really.
I got it. I love it.
Hmm.
For businesses going into the end of the year, what advice do you have for them right now related to finances, preparing for 2023?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a budget, get one done, even if it's simple. Even if you don't have a CFO or you don't have a killer finance talent, print your P&L from QuickBooks. Add so print your P&L from this year, the 12 months, then add the next 12 months, and then just type in values. What do you want to do? What can you do? All the way down every account. What does net profit look like? And so start the planning. Um, Ideally, you'd want to have a cash forecast, but net income's a good start. And so if you look at your ad spend and how efficient it is, you're going to want to see, is it sustainable at the current rate? If you aren't making money at all next year, well, what has to change so you do make money? Um, you know, some rough numbers I'll give people is gross margin. If it's 60, let's say, your ad spend shouldn't be more than 30% of revenue. It's going to be tough to scale. Payroll, if you can be under 10%, fantastic. 15 is okay too. Um, your shipping should be 11-12% of revenue, not more than that. And so from there, you can take that and kind of build out a budget, um, and kind of see what you can do. And again, at this point, I would be focused on profitability, not growth, unless you're VC funded with a lot of money in the bank. Um, but be focused on profitability in it. So if that next 12 months is not profitable, figure out a way to make it profitable. Could you outsource talent to other places in the world? Could you, is it a marketing agency that you need? Is there a change up that's needed there? Is it more creative? Is it more organic? What do you need to do to get that marketing efficiency? That's going to be the biggest challenge, I think, in the near future. And then look at gross margin. I have a client that went from 45-50% gross margin to 75 with a change in suppliers and a change in location where they're sourcing from.
Wow.
So those things are possible. Can you find yours? What can you do? When you have a gross margin that's 75-80%, you can spend 40% on marketing, 50% sometimes if you have your OpEx really low. And when you can spend 40-50, you can take market share on that. You can really get into the market and really get scale and still be profitable. So that's what I would be doing is looking at the budget and then go get financing, go initiate conversations with lenders, get some people queued up, even if you don't need it right now. That's what I'd be doing.
Love it. Always a pleasure to talk with you, Matt. For those
Yes,
of us watching,
absolutely.
listening, what's that? Yeah, it's a blast. It's always a good time.
So fun.
Um, Anybody that wants to get in touch with Matt, go to 8x.co.
Mhm.
Everything is here on that little banner that's scrolling aside. You might like that, eh? That's a nice little feature here.
That's wonderful.
Um, 8x.co. And yeah, we'll have to continue this as we go into the new year. We should, keep this going. Love
We should.
to do something, every month maybe.
That'd be great. And if I could tell your listeners as well, I get to work with Jason on a mutual client. Blown away. I don't know if I've worked together with a very strong operator before. But
Oh, you're too
when
kind. Too kind.
no, well, I'm not. Well, I mean, in my opinion, I'm not being too kind, but I was working with this client before Jason joined us. Jason join, and oh my god, the planning, the way that you kind of see what we need into the future, like I've just been blown away working with you on this client. So
Thanks.
if anyone thinks they could
Yeah.
use op support, don't hesitate.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for that. And yeah, we're going to continue that. That's going to be a fun journey. Lots to do
Hmm.
with that one. So
Yeah,
it's going to be exciting. So, and I
so
love it. I
excited.
love, the mission, the key with this is being able to meet people with similar values, the
Hmm.
tenacity, the people with similar
Hmm.
goals. We had talked a little bit about when I first met you. I think you were going on a vacation,
Yep.
this big vacation, right? And this was part of your grand plan. So, building those milestones and a time for the
Hmm.
family while still being able to, figure out who one wants to work with, people who are industrious, who know their
Yeah.
talents, who are actually looking to provide value, who are transparent, who are there in real time, who are organized.
Hmm.
These all are things that we think, oh, everyone's
Totally.
like that, but it's not like that actually. So
No.
yeah. So you and I, let's continue this. We'll jam more.
100%.
We'll get some more content out to the world. I'm using StreamYard right now, so this is a shout out to the StreamYard
Oh,
folks.
cool.
Uvec is one of the founders, is originally from University of Victoria, and the other one I think is from Oregon.
Oh, awesome.
They ended up selling this technology to I think it was Hopkin for a pretty nice, tidy sum, but they're the ones who developed this technology, and I've been really leveraging it for my real time communications with folks, and I
Cool.
really love it. So another tool to share for folks that are looking to stream real time. And, you can see at a click of a button, I'm just doing a few little things here. I'm switching it up.
That's
I'm firing
amazing.
it up, you know, I've got, change that up, and then I can put a little banner here and just press a few buttons, and boom, all of a sudden, look at that. Hey, it's like I'm
That's
on
awesome.
TSN, the TSN turning
Unbelievable.
point right now. Right. So,
Cool.
okay, Matt, we'll have to pick this up again. Thanks
Sure.
everybody that's watching and listening, and I'll end the broadcast, and Matt, you and I can continue some
Let's
offline
do it.
conversations here. So
Awesome.
thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll keep it going. Operating.fm. We'll chat soon. Bye.